In this video, we're going to talk about how to deploy your security team, what to do in certain situations, and what kind of threats you need to be looking out for. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Pilot Patriot channel. Now, this is going to be part 2 of our church security series. In part 1, we talked about why you need a security team, how to build your security team, and what type of gear you might need to help you protect your church. Now, if you missed part 1, I will put a link to that in the top of the screen and down in the description, so make sure you check that out. In this video, we're going to talk about how to deploy your security team, what to do in certain situations, and what kind of threats you need to be looking out for. And don't forget, guys, if you like these kind of videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, give us a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time we upload new videos. All right, guys, now if you watched the first video, you know how to build your security team and you know what to carry with you while you're on security. But the next thing you need to think about is where to position your security team members during services. Now, the first is the most obvious. You want to post someone at the main entrance of the church or the main entrance of the sanctuary. That's going to be where most people are coming in, where you can put eyes on everybody as they're coming in and try to identify any threats or anything that just doesn't look quite right to you. Next, you also need to be covering any other entrances or exits that you have, whether that be a back entrance or a side entrance or something like that. You're going to need somebody that can monitor those, not only while people are coming in, but also during services. Something else you may want to think about, reducing the number of entry and exit points that you have. So what you can do, if you have the type of doors that have the little bar on them that locks, you can lock possibly your rear and side entrances and leave just your main entrance open. That way people can get out if they need to, but no one can get in unless you let them in. That's a great way to help secure the church during services. You'll need someone at the rear and possibly at the front of the sanctuary. Position strategically so you can see the entire sanctuary, so you can keep an eye on everyone in the congregation and everything that's going on just in case something happens. Another place you need to post somebody is at the children's area. Oftentimes the children area is going to be separate from your main sanctuary, so you need to have someone that's monitoring the children's area and any other occupied buildings on your church campus. Now, once you have those covered, if possible, I definitely recommend having a floater. That's going to be someone that's able to move around, to walk around, monitor the parking lots, someone that's able to fill in anywhere they're needed, and can just kind of rotate around and give support to all the other locations so that your main guys don't have to leave their post. Now, when you're deciding where to post your security team members, a lot of that depends on what your threats are. Next, we're going to talk about what kind of threats you may encounter in a church setting. While obviously one of our major concerns is going to be an active shooter type situation, that's not the only thing a security team has to look out for. One thing you're going to need to look out for is a direct threat to the pastor. Now, your pastor is usually up front, by himself, he's very exposed, and he is coming in direct contact with a lot of people throughout the day, shaking hands, talking to different people, praying with people, that kind of thing. So he can be very vulnerable in those situations, and you need to make sure you keep an eye on the pastor and make sure he is staying safe. Another thing that may happen is you may have domestic issues that carry over into the church. Maybe you have some marital issues going on, or some custody issues where you have one parent that doesn't have custody that's coming into the church specifically to gain access to that child or something like that. Whatever it is, there's all kinds of things like that where really each person that's in your congregation brings their own personal threats in with them. If they have a threat, it's now your threat too. It can all spill over into the church. So not every threat is one that can be solved with a gun. Your security team is also going to have to be able to diffuse situations and de-escalate or possibly remove somebody that's being unruly or something like that. Now, as you're looking over the general congregation, as a security team, you need to remember that you are on duty. And when you're on duty, you're not actively participating in the service. You want to give the illusion that you are, but in reality, what you're doing is standing back and scanning the area for any threats that may come up. That means during prayers, when everyone bows their head to pray and closes their eyes, you don't. Your eyes are up and open and scanning and looking for threats, because I can't think of any better opportunity for a bad guy than when everyone's heads are down and eyes closed. That's a prime time for them to act. So you need to be up and aware of what's going on around you at all times. Another big threat that a church could face is theft or armed robbery. Now, most churches take up a tithe or an offering, and on any given Sunday, a church may be taking in hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars, and a bad guy that knows that is definitely going to try to take advantage of that. So it's very important that your security team is monitoring that money at all times. You need to keep an eye out as the offering's being taken up. You need to escort your ushers as they're bringing the offering to the back to count it. And of course, whenever they reach their destination with that money, you need to secure the area and make sure that no unauthorized people can get in there to access them or the money. Now, along those same lines, your parking lot is also going to be a very vulnerable area. Everybody knows on Sunday morning between 10 and 12, there's going to be a lot of people inside and a lot of cars left out unattended in the parking lot. That is prime time for someone to come by, looking in car windows and things like that, looking for an opportunity to steal something. So you need to have someone that can monitor the parking lot and keep an eye out for that type of thing. Make sure that they have their radio on and can notify the rest of the team if they see a sketchy person, maybe someone they've never seen before, or someone looking in car windows, checking door handles and things like that. Now, your next major threat is going to be your children's area. Now, most of the time, your church is going to have some type of nursery or children's church that is separate from the main sanctuary area. And you need to make sure that you're monitoring that children's area and making sure it's secure. Some threats that you're going to be looking out for are child predators, sex offenders, or like we talked about, custody situations, things like that, and even medical emergencies. So you want to make sure you have someone that's monitoring the children at all times. And of course, the big one, this is one we've been seeing a lot lately in the news, is active shooter situations. Those are probably going to be your least likely threat, but you have to be prepared for it, because as we know, these things do happen, and you don't want to be caught off guard if it happens to you and your church. You need to be looking out for anyone that you don't recognize, anyone that maybe is not dressed appropriately. Now, like I said, we're Southern Baptists, and so we're pretty laid back on what we wear. You may see anything from shorts and a t-shirt to a full three-piece suit. But what I'm talking about is maybe someone that comes in wearing a hoodie in the middle of July, or extra long coats, or you also want to be looking out for bulges coming out from under clothing. You want to specifically be looking out for bags and backpacks and things like that as well. Now, most of the time, you probably be able to tell if something's not right or if something seems out of the ordinary. And that's something that you're going to want to communicate to the rest of your security team so you can keep an eye on that person. Maybe even post a security team member directly behind that person so they have quick access to the person if they need to stop them. You need to be looking at behaviors too. If someone comes in and they look extra nervous, maybe they're doing a lot of looking around to see if people are watching them. Oftentimes these type of people might sit at the back of the church against the wall, so they're kind of out of sight. You're going to want to look for anyone that gets up and walks out, or someone that walks in right in the middle of a service. Now, while you're doing this, you need to be very careful, because obviously one of the missions of the church is outreach. We want to bring people in. We want our doors to be open to everyone that seeks the message of the Lord, right? So you have to find that balance between being secure and being welcoming to new members. Now, the next thing that's very important is communication. You need to be able to easily communicate with other members of the team. In case a situation happens, you want to be able to notify the team of any threats that happen, like watch out for the guy in the black hoodie, something like that. You also want to be able to notify each team member of what's going on in the congregation. For example, your offering's being taken to the back. You want to say something like, hey, offering's coming to the back, secure that area. Something like that, to make sure you're able to communicate with each other, that everybody knows what's going on. Your communication or your radio is also going to be very important to your team leader so he can kind of choreograph what's going on. You may also want to think about if you're on a security team but you're not on duty that Sunday, you may still choose to wear your radio so you can be informed of what's going on and can fill in if you're needed. Now, as we talked about in the first video, it's not good enough just to have security members posted in strategic locations. You also need to be well trained and know how to react in certain situations. And your security director should institute some type of standard operating procedure. Now, your SOP is going to dictate when you arrive, what you do when you get there, how you react to certain situations, and where each team member is going to be stationed. It may also say what the congregation is supposed to do if a threat arises. Are they going to get down or are they going to get out? My personal opinion is that they should get down. That's not only going to make them a harder target for the bad guy, but it's also going to get them down and out of the way so your security team can actively engage the threat without having to worry about innocent bystanders. Your SOP may also dictate where's the fire extinguisher, where's the first aid kit, who's in charge if there's a medical emergency. And finally, while you're working on protecting your church, you need to think about not only the security team, but also the security of the building itself. That means making sure you have good locks. That means possibly installing a security system or security cameras. Now, in closing, guys, I just want to remind you guys that if you choose to be part of a security team and you're on duty, you are on duty. That means you are always alert, you are always scanning for threats. You're not sitting there texting on your phone or having a conversation with a buddy or something like that. If you choose to be on a security team and to be the protector of hundreds or maybe even thousands of people, you need to take that seriously. So now we've talked about how to build your security team, why you need a security team, what type of gear you might need. We've talked about all the different types of threats and how to react in certain situations. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If your church is interested in building a security team, I hope this helps you out figuring out exactly how to do that. Now, if you guys have any suggestions or anything that I missed, please let us know in the comments below. And don't forget, guys, if you haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time we upload new videos. And if you want to help support the channel, you can do that by following us over at Patreon or Facebook, or visiting pilotpatriotapparel.com to get yourself some really cool patriotic and Second Amendment t-shirts. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe, and God bless.